Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on XD Fridays. I'm Alex Poterek. I'm filling in for the mighty Talon, as some of you mentioned in the streams. I'm joined today with a special guest, an awesome engineer on the XD team.
My name is Daniel Wabick. I'm an engineer on Adobe XD. I've been working a lot on the prototyping features and some of the playback features as well.
Yeah, we've been working pretty closely lately on just coming up with some really cool future prototyping things, and yeah, thanks for joining us. We're going to be chatting today about prototyping and sharing, so you couldn't have a better duo, I think, talking about this. Yeah, I'd love to keep the chat going, keep this little personal one-on-one with the chat, and take questions as they come in. And yeah, so
cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a step back and talk a little bit about your history on XD. What's really cool about Daniel is he was one of the founding members of XD along with Talon. So it's a little bit different perspective. Instead of the design perspective, we're getting some engineer take. And yeah, so tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So just a little history. I actually used to be in the Adobe design group as an engineer and an engineering manager. We used the term experienced developers back then, and we worked on a lot of projects. Working with Wired Magazine, the New York Times, kind of doing these sort of richer interactive pieces. And I was working as a manager, and I started hearing some grumblings about Adobe really taking and creating a new experience design tool from scratch. And I just sort of jumped at the chance. So I started prototyping, working with Talon and Anirudh and NJ. We started building the prototype first in HTML, and I switched roles and became an engineer, and have been working on those features among prototyping features, the authoring features, playback features, and as well as symbols. So that's thinking about components a little bit too, that type of thing.
Yeah,
so yeah,
there's definitely some fun stuff in the works. Sort of funny is how we met was when I was on an old team that was about future prototyping and working with other product teams, and I was working with you directly on a feature for XD. And
that's right.
Yeah, so that was my introduction, was actually to start prototyping and brainstorming some features around this, and I joined the team, and then here we are. We're live streaming, chatting about it. And then
Good Morning America.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is great. Again, we'd love to take some questions from the audience if you have anything. We want to really kind of push on this prototype and share thing. I'm going to share my screen and talk about sort of like what we find important and why prototyping is this kind of rich feature that we really want to enhance, and we want to really put forward, and why we're putting so much energy into it right now. So I want to talk a little bit about why we're prototyping things as designers. There's these two kind of buckets that you fall into when you're thinking about things, and that's your instincts versus your insights. So instincts are how I feel about things and how I want to do things. And this is where I start to design things, and I'm yeah, this is feeling great. I really love where this feature is going, or I love where this design's going, and it works really well for me. But you got to take a step back sometimes and know that you're not always your target audience. You might use the thing you're building, but you also aren't your only audience. And insight is when you start to look at how other people want to use it. And this is where getting that in front of people is really important. You get a lot of learnings and takeaways, and then you can kind of compare your instincts and your insights, and find a nice balance for that. And I think that's why Adobe in general thought that XD was such an important product. It was a space where you could take your designs and put them out into the public and get that feedback, do that user testing, and I'm sure that's part of the motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I think really keeping that simple integrated flow. I mean, one of the first tools to really combine design and prototyping and sharing, and that ability to get the feedback. So that's always been a little bit of the vision, while keeping the tool simple and accessible for people, so they can just pick it up and feel like they're experts very quickly.
Exactly. Like it's fun working with engineers and product managers that are just in and out of XD all the time, like throwing their ideas into things and designing, sharing it back really quickly. It's great. So that's kind of like the background of like why like we as designers are doing a lot more prototyping these days, and why we thought it was a really important feature to kind of push for. So like I said, like prototypes allow you to enable, or prototypes enable us, so we can talk to the users early, and get that feedback, make changes, and kind of react to the feedback. And that's a really important part of the process. So I don't want to get too caught up in the whole graphs and charts, I guess. But this graph really represents like why we want to prototype. And like if you're building a real product and you're just kind of making it real from the start, you're going to put a lot of time and energy into something that you haven't validated yet. When you build a prototype, it actually lets you like ramp up really quick, validate it, and you get to the results a lot quicker. You're not wasting your resources. You're not backtracking or finding out that something just isn't working right. So this is kind of a distinction of why we're prototyping. And then,
and I think it's also, as that balance of, you're prototyping what you can express in the prototype versus just static, something that's purely static really allows users to, go a little bit deeper, and you get more insights, I think, just by seeing a user kind of go through the different flows of the application than you might by just showing them a static screen.
Absolutely.
You get a lot of different information from that. Yeah.
And from your perspective, like you can generally code a lot of these things, right? Like you could actually just pull these up. But do you find yourself ever just mocking something up really quick, or?
Yeah, I definitely. I think there are things when I realize, wow, this would take a really long time to code something to the level where I think we'd get feedback or share an idea. So I've definitely used XD for that. And I think it's really interesting to get, as the tools progress, to get more and more designs from XD shared, prototypes shared with me as a developer, and be like, what do you think of this feature? And I think we're going to do a little bit of that today. So
yeah, that's a great segue into that, actually. Like I wanted to take a step back and actually start to build a feature in XD and really kind of do like a little macro, I guess, of what that process is like, working like side by side with an engineer or any sort of stakeholder, and we can get into that in a minute. Just reading through these chats real quick, seeing if there's anything, any questions. Got some internet problems. Cool. We can move forward into this. Let's keep the questions rolling though.
Cool.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so as many designers tend to do, they start with a blank canvas, which is kind of the scariest thing to look at when you're starting a design. So on the XD team, we have a couple of ways to kind of help kickstart things. We have like templates set up on the design side. We have like a whole like master list of all the UI components in XD, and as many of you know, we design XD inside of XD. So we're actually going to start there. I have this list. This is actually a list that we use for our everyday work. I'm going to go ahead and just copy some of the XD Chrome right now and bring it into this document. Just so everyone knows, shortcut for toggling between all the windows is the tilde, command tilde on Mac. I think control tilde on Windows probably.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, something like that.
Definitely more on the Mac side.
Yeah. Cool. So this is XD inside of XD, and If anybody has topics for some features they want to see built or that's missing, we can run with that. I have a couple that's just been on my mind for a little bit, so we can maybe start there, and we can always segue if we have enough time. One of the things that I've noticed a lot lately is that I have a ton of canvases all over, or a ton of artboards all over my canvas. There's a ton of flows. XD you can have hundreds of screens at a time in one document, and yeah, it just gets to be a mess. And if there was some way to kind of start to manage those things, I thought that would be a really kind of fun project to look over. So let me look. We got some suggestions going on. So rulers, yes. I think last time I was on this show with Talon, we actually did a little brainstorming with rulers, which a lot of people are asking for rulers. That's something we could definitely look into. A mirror button. I'm assuming that means taking an object and flipping it, either vertically or horizontally. We could roll into that. I don't know how exciting it would be just to design out a button right now.
It's actually something, one of the things, a mirror feature was something that we prototyped really early on. It was just something that we thought, okay, keeping it focused, and maybe this isn't something that we always want to just expose right away or build right away. I think it's something that is a really great case for extensibility. Some of the extensibility APIs that are on their way. So this the ability for you to create little plugins where you could do something like mirror a button or mirror content, or maybe that I don't know, rotate and repeat the content and that kind of thing. So hopefully we're going to be able to see what you guys can also create, which will be fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm loving all the other suggestions coming in. You're talking about, I think there's overlays, there's fixed elements, the micro interactions. You're talking to the right people. We got a lot of stuff in the works for that. So I don't want to tease that up in designing it out in front of you guys, but stay tuned, and we have
features there might have already be some designs for those features.
Yeah, we might already have that in the works. So I don't want to tip our hat on what those will look like, but yeah, if you, like, those are. It's good to get validation from the audience to know that those are needed.
Yeah, I assume some of you guys have been on user voice, and it's definitely things that we've been paying attention to as far as some of the top features, and we're looking forward to giving you guys what you want.
Yeah, yeah. Just be patient. I swear it's coming soon. So, so I'm going to keep rolling with. Link different XD files and prototypes. What's that like? What do you think they mean by that?
I wonder if that means maybe it's a general hyperlink capability, so you could sort of connect richer or more complex flows together, possibly. Or I wonder if they mean that they want to be able to create multiple links from the same prototype, or have different flows or something like that.
So that's interesting, because that would actually fit right into this whole tagging of an artboard thing, where I can start to manage my different flows properly, and then maybe that would lead us into something what they're asking for. Let's see, what's one more of these questions? The second from the bottom, I'm not sure.
How does the XD interface with traditional programming environments, like Eclipse or another IDE? Well, I use Xcode and AppCode as my IDE to develop XD, but I don't think that's, I think what you're asking for is more developer integration questions. That's something that we've definitely been looking into. We've already built, I believe, a content access API that allows tools like Avocode. I'm trying to think of what a few of the other ones that really create dev specs and allow you to sort of extract content for Zeppelin
is one.
For developers. So I think that's one of the first levels, is like, how do you get some of the assets into developers' hands really efficiently? As far as real integration into an IDE, I'm kind of curious maybe what you're thinking of. So please, feel free to throw some ideas in the chat and we can discuss it. But yeah.
Cool. People are people are picking up on this this having one flow per document and then being able to link between these things. It's a really interesting kind of idea. I mean, we could roll with it. I don't have anything prepared, but I'm never against, you know, just winging it and seeing what a flow looks like for that.
Okay.
So yeah, let's actually roll with that. So let's so we have our XD document going on right now, and let's say we're going to be pretty generic on what our flow looks like. So we're going to say this is screen 1. Then we'll duplicate that and then say screen 2. I have, let's see. That's your proto. Actually, I won't be able to open that, so I'm not going to go there. Okay, so I have these 2 documents going right now, and let's say that these are linked between one flow. And we'll kind of beef that up and make this little blue. More the XD blue. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so say we have this flow going on right now, and I have another window that's maybe in the back that is another one of my flows, and I want to flip to that actually. So I'm going to duplicate this artboard, bring this one to the front, and we'll say that this is flow. Yeah, let's copy this over here, and we'll say that these are like maybe 3 and 4. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on the setup of this, so let's keep rolling with it. So I guess if we're trying to link 2 flows from 2 different documents, we'd want a way to maybe we need another tool that's like the Artboard tool. So maybe it's sort of like this guy.
Like a link tool or something, are you thinking? Or
Yeah. I don't. So we're
it's
just
a good hyperlink icon.
Yeah.
Or like a link icon.
We're just gonna make a little like linky guy right now.
The chains or something.
Yeah, we're just gonna roll with that. We all know what it means from just between us. So we're gonna make that the tool, and then we of course want to be consistent though and add this to all our. Oops, I didn't make the selection correct. I'm poorly grouping things right now. Cool. Do that, and then add another one. Okay, so we got it all going on right now. And go here, and I'm gonna actually select this tool now. So we're gonna make this the blue. That didn't do what I wanted to necessarily because we have a stroke on there. So that's just gonna be our selection tool. So we just selected it. And now maybe this tool lets us click on the canvas and then add some sort of special artboard. So I'm gonna add that in there. So then maybe I can get some sort of, like, let's say this is one of those like traditional, I don't know, InDesign sort of like placeholder things where it's just like filling up some content right now. And then maybe I want to do something like linked XD file is the generic term for it. And we're going to also add a quick little drop down. So what I'm thinking with this is maybe we can be smart about this and say, like in this drop down, we can only show you files that are open right now. So any files that you have in XD that are open in the background, we can just say, okay, well that's our selection model. So I'm gonna click on that arrow, and then I'm gonna have a little drop down menu that says XD file 1.xd, because that's the only thing I have open right now. So we're just gonna do that, and we'll use our, gotta be on brand. Throw that in there. So maybe that pops up. Give this a group, give this a little drop shadow. We can select that, and then let's see. Maybe we expose the home screen of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to choose the home screen. Throw this in there, and but maybe like it's not different enough. Like it kind of just looks like it. So
well, it's interesting to think about how it's almost. It strikes me that maybe this is like a linked. We have linked graphics from other tools. And so it's starting to, we're starting to see about, potentially symbols, XD symbols between other tools. And it's almost like, oh, well, if you had this artboard or a flow, which could be, very interesting if you start thinking about, maybe the artboard represents like a smaller set of, almost maybe a micro animation or something like that in the future where.
Yeah, just a little its own system of
its own
things.
little system. So you create that in one document, and that's reusable in multiple other documents and other flows or something like that. Or potentially something larger, like maybe it's a login process that's used in multiple in multiple documents.
You know what I kind of love about this though is that it seems pretty consistent with how like an engineer would like set up their code. They have like snippets in different like code files and stuff like that, and then they have a system. They just reference things, right? So you can include different text base. So it's really interesting to think about like how you can start to design things in a similar way to how like an engineer might either consume it or hand it off. But you made a good point. Like this is sort of like our linked symbols thing. So let's actually start to make this maybe green.
Right.
Got to keep it consistent with how we do all of our other linked. Let me add this to.
Let's see if I could actually.
Cool. So I'm gonna actually just steal this graphic again. I'm slowing down, clicking on lines. Okay, I'm going to add that one in there, and then we're going to do the same thing here. Make the border green. And then we'll actually just kick it up here with a sort of a larger border, just to really kind of sell it that, hey, this is a different thing. And then, of course, we want to make sure that this is linked. So maybe that's the next thing we do is we just make sure this is
linked in between.
Yeah. Of course, I would do this in prototype mode, but we're not going to build that screen because this is just some early validation. And this is a perfect flow where I'm going to now actually link my flows up to this, and we'll say something like, okay, I'm starting here. I'm going to wire up this screen over here. I'm in prototype mode now, so now I can kind of create this flow for everyone. We're going to select this tool. Going to put it over here. And then we're going to drop this this like placeholder artboard on this next screen. And then I'm going to click on these guys, and we'll have our XD file as an option. And then we'll pull in that content. And I don't know if I need this last screen. I think I just duplicated it out of habit.
Yep.
Oh no, I wired it up. That's right. So we'll just do a click and then I'll wire up. So that's a quick prototype. Just to kind of show like the best practices, like what we do on the XD team is, if some of you noticed in this other doc, we do have these like presentation slides that we like to add into that. It gives a little bit of context. These two screens are really critical to our review process. They're not necessary. This is a kind of like choose your own adventure kind of thing, like do what works for your team. But for us, we found that, adding a title slide, so we'll say linked documents, and then we'll say like something like artboard level.
I need to get these templates, so these look nice.
Yeah, I can share them across. So then over here, what's really nice is linked documents is we kind of say what we want feedback on, which is really important because you can send this away to somebody and they might give you feedback like that you weren't looking at or weren't wanting like visually or anything like that. So
about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly publish this. Let me link these up, and I'm gonna show you show you how publishing works in XD. Okay, so make sure everything's all linked up. Just do a Command A just to double check. I'm going to push this, so if you go up into the top right corner, you can see that we have our share dialog, and you can publish a prototype. I've already published this once. I can actually just hit update link, and it's going to upload, host everything for you, and it'll send it off to Daniel. And he has my link already, so I don't have to resend this to him. I can ping him maybe on Slack or email or something like that and say, hey, I just updated it, go check it out, and he'll just hit refresh, and then hopefully he can make some comments.
Cool.
So I don't know if we can hop over to Daniel's screen real quick.
I think we're on it. Yeah, it looks like
nice. Great.
We're on it here. Let me just go full screen here. But yeah, so I have got the ability to kind of quickly go through here. As I'm kind of wondering what's interactive or not, I start seeing some hotspot areas, and so I can kind of quickly sort of check out the flow and see. Is this one linked? Is it? Where was that?
It's the tool, the Artboard tool, the new Artboard.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
that's a small,
super tiny,
small one. Yeah, so I can really start seeing this idea that the Artboard tool kind of gives me a new linked file. I can click on that. I can choose from a drop down, and I start getting the idea of like what this flow is about. Mm-hmm. One thing to mention, there were some questions of whether XD is a developer tool. I would say, no, it's not your typical developer IDE, but one thing as a developer, it's really easy to use and express your ideas. So for product managers and developers, you can, work through this tool and I think learn it pretty quickly and use it to, better support your product. So in that sense, maybe it's a developer tool, or we'd like it to be.
That's awesome. I don't know if you guys want to hop back to my screen real quick, and then maybe you can leave a comment real quick, and then I can show everyone how that kind of just like flows in, and hopefully we get some notification doing live, making sure things are working.
So
that might take a minute, but
let's see how that goes.
But yeah, so it's great to get feedback from all the stakeholders and easy to share. If there's something wrong with the document, I can quickly go in and fix it, and then I can just republish it and say, hey, is this what you were thinking by that comment? And it's a really easy, quick back and forth for us.
Yeah. You might be on Do Not Disturb. I wonder if that's why.
That might
because you're presenting.
Yeah.
One thing to point out also is that we just recently. Oh, cool. Nice. We just added the ability to password protect your prototypes. So that was a very requested feature. So you can share your work and share your work privately, which is often, pretty nice for secret plans.
You know what my favorite thing to do with that is go over here, publish prototype, require password, and then depending on who the stakeholder is, I can say something like, this is not final, just so they have to type it in and they know this is not final. So I'm not looking for sign off or anything like that. It's a little kind of like tongue in cheek.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of how we use it, and we hope you're using it that way or however works for you. We have some really cool and exciting things that we're working on that we're so excited to be able to share with you guys in the future. So maybe we'll be back and we can kind of show off what we've been working on. I think a lot of you are going to be pretty happy just based on some of the conversations that have been happening in the stream. But thanks for joining us. We'll be back here next Friday. Come see all our other streams on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's a correction. But yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.